Guys, welcome to the Boxing Gossip channel. This is my post-fight breakdown of Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. This is going to be the first of two post-fight breakdowns I do in this video, and I'll explain why. Firstly, I'm on a limited timescale here today, so can't necessarily go into it in full detail. Secondly, I was up very late last night to watch the Billy Joe Saunders card and doing a few bits afterwards, so went to bed quite late. Got about 4 hours sleep, alarm went off 6 o'clock this morning, ran a half marathon. I'm sitting here on my sofa, pretty delirious, pretty worn out. It's been a long couple of days, so maybe my fatigue and physical exhaustion meant that I saw a bit of a mirage when I watched Canelo Golovkin. So my promise to you is I've watched the fight about once. I'm going to do a video here based on that initial viewing. I will be rewatching the fight on Monday evening, and following on from that, I will then post a second video with some more thoughts on the fight, and maybe my opinions will change having had a proper night's sleep and having not just spent the morning running. Let's put it that way. Let's get into it. First 3 rounds of this fight, I scored to Canelo Alvarez. One thing that I really like about Canelo is how versatile he is. He really is a fighter who has shown several different looks in his career to date. And he has adapted his style with time and adapted his style dependent on the opponents he's facing. And I actually think he looked really good in the first 3 rounds. I was very impressed. Canelo was using lateral movement on the back foot, circling Golovkin. Golovkin was holding the centre of the ring, typically. Golovkin was looking to use his jab, but he was, for me, struggling to actually find his proper range against Canelo. Canelo's back foot game was impressive. His upper body movement and his head movement was really spot on. He made Golovkin miss on numerous occasions, and from early on in the fight, we saw Canelo countering Golovkin with substantial success. Really working Golovkin, timing him nicely and putting good counters in. I was actually very impressed by Canelo in the first 3 rounds. It's probably the best I've ever seen him look, to be honest. His punches were very snappy. They looked like they were very solid punches. His timing was on point, and he looked really fast. He looked really fast and strong in there. I don't know if it's because he spent a career sucking himself down in weight, and potentially we're seeing some improvement now that he's maybe fighting at a more natural weight class. Or I don't know if, Golovkin at this stage, in his mid-30s, is maybe just very slow compared to a youngster like Canelo. But regardless of what it is, I thought Canelo looked really strong in the first 3 rounds, and I sweat those to Canelo. From about round 3 or 4, Golovkin started to pick up sections of the fight, and I think the 4th round is the first round I give to Golovkin. Golovkin is coming forward relentlessly, which is a pattern that really continues from this point to the rest of the fight. He's coming forward relentlessly, and he's starting to have a bit more effect with his work from rounds 4 onwards. You wonder if Canelo expended a lot of energy in some of the early rounds, and you kind of wonder if that if maybe that was a style he was going to struggle to implement over 12 rounds, because moving continuously on the back foot is extremely stamina sapping. So from the 4th round onwards, Golovkin started to have a bit more success. But being frank, despite the fact that Golovkin started to pick up some of these rounds from output, I still thought Canelo was landing the better work. He just wasn't landing the work with the right frequency. I thought Canelo's punches were far more eye-catching and on many occasions far more telling than Golovkin's work. I thought Canelo's ability to catch Triple G and counterpunch Triple G was really eye-catching, and I also thought Triple G didn't put in a vintage performance here. I thought Triple G was wide and wild with a lot of his punches. You'll note how some of Triple G's punches that missed, they didn't just miss, but they missed by quite some margin, and he was getting tagged. I thought Triple G was slow, which I've already referred to. I also thought he was painfully predictable, and it surprised me how easy, Golovkin's always been known as this stalker, predator type fighter who can cut down the ring with you and destroy you. You know, all of the Golovkin fans in the lead up to this fight were telling me, oh, what's what happened when Canelo's backs go to the ropes? You know, what's what happens at that point when, you know, Golovkin gets him up against the ropes? I thought Canelo was actually wheeling away and circling out, you know, at ease and whenever he wanted to be frank. There was a great exchange, I think it was in the 5th round, where Canelo was literally just sort of bobbing and weaving up against the ropes. Really, really, really impressive. You know, making Golovkin miss a hell of a lot. And, you know, for me, Golovkin, it wasn't the most sophisticated I've seen him fight. You know, if you've got a guy like that who's making you miss constantly and counterpunching you, where was Golovkin? You know, why didn't he try to jab to the chest? You know, the head's a moving target. It's easy to throw a bit of head movement that Canelo was doing. You know, why not try and go chest area or to the body? I didn't think Triple G adapted in any stretch. I thought he was showing some tactics that were not exactly dominating the fight early on, and I felt that he just continued with them. It was a huge amount of pressure from Triple G, and he was landing some good work, don't get me wrong, but there were spells of the fight where it was looking like uneducated pressure, and for me, spells of the fight where Canelo was outmanoeuvring him and was outskilling him, for my money. And I know that's controversial, because I understand the world and his wife have Golovkin winning this fight with some ease. Golovkin's best period of the fight probably is those middle rounds, you know, from about round 4 maybe through to like rounds 8 or 9. You know, that's the best period of the fight for Canelo. For me, Canelo started strong and he actually finished strong. He got a definite second wind and, you know, probably won the last 2 rounds as well. I actually had the fight a draw. I had it 6 rounds each. And I know that's going to get me a huge amount of stick, but as I've said, I've already heavily disclaimed this video at the start and promised to rewatch it, so please give me the opportunity to do that before crucifying me. And I mean, the other thing I'd say is the scorecards. Obviously, one of the judges had it 118-110 in Canelo's favour, which is a bizarre scorecard. But if you actually take that scorecard out, I mean, what were the other two? I think one of them had it a draw, 114-114. And one of them had it, Golovkin, either by 1 point or 2 points. Maybe they had it 115-113 to Golovkin. In fact, I think that was their scorecard, actually. So, you know, I don't think me actually scoring it with a draw is too bizarre if you consider that one of the judges scored it a draw, and the only judge who actually had Triple G winning had him winning by, you know, by 2 points. I don't know if Triple G has maybe lost a step. You know, we've talked about his decline on this channel before, and we've talked about the fact that maybe there are signs of that decline evident from his more recent fights against the likes of Kell Brook and Danny Jacobs. And potentially that is the case, because if you look at how on point he was in that David Lemieux fight, and I think that's potentially the fight that's going to be known as his, you know, his fantastic moment in hindsight. But for me, at that point, he looked like a wrecking ball. He was so accurate, so precise, you know, like a sniper in there who could then turn into a sort of seek and destroy merchant at any moment. You know, here he looked like a guy who was swinging and missing at times. He looked like a guy who was slow. He was, you know, struggled to find his range and actually utilise his jab for portions of the fight. And he really was getting caught on numerous occasions with huge punches from Canelo. Canelo really was manoeuvring him around the ring and sort of ducking and wheeling and then countering him very, very nicely for me. Now, Triple G fans are going to make the argument that Canelo was too quiet in the fight and gave up multiple rounds through lack of activity, whereas Golovkin was pushing the pace. And I would agree with that to an extent. But there are whole rounds where Golovkin is, you know, coming forward and positioning Canelo up against the ropes. But when he gets Canelo up against the ropes, he's actually not really doing anything. He's throwing punches that are missing with, you know, some regularity, and he's actually being countered. Now, that's not every round. Clearly, there are rounds that Golovkin wins. As I say, I've scored it a draw, not a Canelo win. But it's, you know, for me, this was an extremely, extremely, extremely competitive fight. And it's a fight that, you know, I believe genuinely could have gone either way. As I say, my instinct is Canelo actually got off the better work, and there were large portions of the fight where you could say Canelo was the better fighter for me. So, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised at some of the uproar and the outrage. I suspect a lot of the uproar relates to that 118-110 scorecard, which is clearly ludicrous. But if you tell me that one judge had Canelo winning, one judge had Golovkin winning, and one judge had it a draw, for me that is a fair reflection of what I saw as a very, very close competitive fight that could have gone either way. The 118-110, outrageous. The draw, not so bizarre if you ask me. To give credit to both guys, Golovkin showed an amazing chin, and he showed amazing fitness and will to win and relentlessness continuing to come forward. As for Canelo, he showed fantastic punch resistance and durability, real world-class elusiveness in terms of upper body movement and head movement, world-class timing and counter-punching ability. Credit goes to both guys. The post-fight interviews I thought were interesting. Sorry, just got the Sons of Anarchy driving past outside my window. The post-fight interviews were potentially revealing. I wasn't sure if it was because of a language barrier, although, maybe that wasn't the case because there was a translator there, which is ideally to avoid problems created by a language barrier. But Triple G didn't seem to be saying that he felt he was a definite winner. He seemed to be more complaining that he wanted a big drama show and that he wanted Canelo to stand and fight Mexican style. He seemed frustrated by the fact that Canelo was moving away from him and trying to make him miss. But hey, that's the sport of boxing. You can't just hope that the fighter fights your style. As for Canelo, he was adamant that he felt he won the fight, certainly 7 or 8 rounds, and he felt he closed it out in definitive fashion. Will there be a rematch? I don't know. But having seen that, let me tell you, if there's a rematch in 9 months' time, Triple G isn't going to get any better at this stage. Triple G is a guy who's, for me, aging in front of our very eyes. He's actually a guy who is going backwards from the David Lemieux fight, as far as I'm concerned. And Canelo is a guy who continues to improve. This performance that he put on there, some of the stuff that I saw from Canelo were actually the best I've ever seen from him. It really was impressive. And Canelo will now go into that fight knowing that he can take Triple G's power and knowing that he can get his work off against Triple G. So, if there was to be a rematch, I don't see it as easy work for Golovkin a second time, just as I didn't see it as easy work for Golovkin the first time round. Very, very interesting fight. Clearly a controversial fight. Clearly a fight that's going to divide opinion. The majority of people who I've spoken to about it think it's an outrageous result of draw and think that Golovkin won with a bit in hand. These are people I respect. These are people who know boxing. I listened to Ultratech Sports video this morning, and he was clearly of the impression that Golovkin had won. And he knows his boxing better than I do, as far as I'm concerned. So, as I say, I'm going to rewatch it. I'm going to rewatch it with the benefit of a proper night's sleep. And I'm going to do a second video tomorrow, even if it's just to say that, I stick by my initial opinions. But with those initial opinions in play, Canelo, for me, deserves a huge amount of credit for being the more versatile fighter, for adapting his game and coming up with a game plan to have success against Triple G, and for landing the far more eye-catching and quality of work. Triple G deserves credit for his relentlessness, his output, his aggression, his chin, and the fact that he pushed the pace through spells of this fight. But I saw it as very, very evenly matched. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do take the time to hit the thumbs up button. I'm sure this will get a few thumbs down. So if you want to support the channel, try and help me out by hitting the thumbs up. If you haven't done so before, please do take the time to subscribe. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, follow me on Twitter at Boxing Gossip. You can add me as a friend on Facebook using the link in the description box below. Many thanks for tuning in, guys.